Love English podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Love English podcast, your passport to English fluency. We're here to help you navigate the world of real, everyday conversations. I'm your host, Leo.
And I'm Emma. It's so wonderful to be back with you all. Leo, I was just scrolling through a travel blog before we started, and I have to admit, I have a serious case of wanderlust right now.
Wanderlust. That is the perfect word to kick off our topic for today. For our listeners, wanderlust is a strong desire to travel and explore the world. And it seems you've caught the travel bug.
I definitely have. The travel bug is that feeling when you get a sudden, intense urge to travel. Looking at pictures of incredible places just makes you want to pack your bags. This brings us to our topic, right? Talking about travel.
Exactly. It's one of the most positive and exciting conversation topics. People's faces light up when they talk about a trip they loved. But like our other topics, there's a way to do it that creates connection and a way that just fills silence. So where do we start?
I think the most common entry point is asking about past experiences. A simple question like, have you traveled much, is a good start.
It is. So let me ask you, Emma, have you traveled much?
I've been lucky enough to visit a few places, but if I just say, yes, I've been to Italy and Thailand, it's a bit of a dead end. It's better to add a little sparkle. I could say, yes, I've done a bit of traveling. My most unforgettable trip was a backpacking adventure through Thailand a few years ago.
That is a brilliant answer. You used the word unforgettable, which is so much stronger than good. You described the travel style, backpacking adventure, and you gave a time frame, a few years ago. Now I have 100 questions. My first one is, what was it like?
This is where we need a good toolkit of descriptive words. Thailand has stunning beaches, so I could say the beaches in the south were breathtaking. The water was crystal clear and the sand was pure white.
Breathtaking, stunning, crystal clear. These are powerful adjectives. They paint a picture. What about the cities like Bangkok?
Bangkok was the opposite of the relaxing beaches. It was a bustling, vibrant city. Bustling means full of busy activity, and vibrant means full of life and energy. The city was alive 24/7. It was a bit of a culture shock at first, but in a good way.
Culture shock is a key phrase. It's that feeling of confusion or disorientation you feel when you experience a completely different way of life. So we have words for scenery and cities. What about the things you did, the activities?
Well, you have the classic sightseeing. That's when you visit the famous places in a city, the monuments, the museums, the temples. I did a lot of sightseeing, but my favorite part was getting off the beaten path.
Can you explain off the beaten path?
It means to go to places where tourists don't usually go. Instead of just hitting the main tourist spots, I explored small local neighborhoods and markets. That's where you can really soak up the local culture and see how people live. To soak up the culture is to immerse yourself in it.
I love that. And I assume you also tried the local cuisine.
Of course, the food was incredible. It was a real culinary adventure. You could get amazing street food on every corner. Cuisine is a fancier word for a style of food, and culinary is the adjective related to cooking.
Okay, let's flip it. Let me tell you about my favorite trip. I went to Japan 2 years ago. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
A once-in-a-lifetime experience. That's high praise. Okay, so now I'll use my follow-up question skills. What did you love most about it?
It was the incredible contrast. You have these ancient, serene temples right next to hyper-modern skyscrapers. One day I was in Kyoto, walking through a peaceful, picturesque bamboo forest. Picturesque means it's so beautiful it looks like a picture. The next day, I was in Tokyo, in the middle of the Shibuya crossing, which is the busiest intersection in the world. It was mind-blowing.
That contrast sounds amazing. You used serene, which means calm and peaceful. What about the logistics of your trip? Where did you stay?
This brings us to another category of travel talk, accommodation. I stayed in a mix of places. In the cities, I stayed in modern hotels, but in the countryside, I stayed in a ryokan, which is a traditional Japanese inn. It was a very authentic experience.
Authentic is a great word. It means real and genuine, not touristy. So you didn't stay in a hostel.
No, I'm a bit past my hostel days. A hostel is a type of budget accommodation with shared rooms, great for backpackers and young travelers. My trip was more of a comfort trip than budget travel. This brings us to different travel styles.
This is a great topic. We've mentioned backpacking, which is usually long-term, low-budget travel. What are some other styles?
Well, you have the classic package holiday or all-inclusive resort. That's where you pay one price for your flights, hotel, food, and drinks. It's very low stress. You just show up and relax on the beach. It's a very different vibe from my Japan trip, which involved a lot of planning and moving around.
Right. Some people love to have everything planned out, an itinerary for every day. Others prefer to be more spontaneous and just go with the flow. What about solo travel?
Traveling by yourself, it can be incredibly rewarding. It really pushes you out of your comfort zone. I've done a few solo trips. You meet so many more people because you're more approachable.
I can imagine. And what about the opposite, a group tour?
That's where you travel with a guide and a group of other tourists on a bus. It's efficient, you see all the major sites. The downside is that you have less freedom. It depends on what you're looking for in a trip.
This is so fascinating. The words we choose really describe the kind of traveler we are. Now, let's talk about the future. People love talking about where they want to go next. What's the best way to ask that?
A great question is, what's on your bucket list? A bucket list is a list of all the things you want to do and places you want to see before you, well, kick the bucket.
So it's your ultimate travel wish list. What's at the top of your bucket list, Leo?
I am dying to go to Peru to see Machu Picchu. It's been my dream destination for years. Dying to go is a strong, informal way to say you really, really want to go. How about you, Emma?
For me, I'd love to do a road trip across the United States. Just rent a car and drive from coast to coast, see all the national parks. It's less about one specific destination and more about the journey itself.
That sounds like an epic adventure. Now, we've been very positive, but let's be realistic. Sometimes things go wrong on a trip. How do we talk about the negative side of travel?
This is so important because it makes the conversation more real. A trip isn't always perfect. Let's say someone asks you how your trip was, and it was just okay. You don't want to be rude, but you want to be honest.
You could use some softer language. You could say, it had its ups and downs. Or, to be honest, it wasn't quite what I expected. For example, I went to Venice in the summer. It was beautiful, but it was absolutely packed with tourists. It was a bit of a tourist trap.
A tourist trap is a great phrase. It's a place that is created to attract tourists and get money from them, and it often feels inauthentic. What about other travel problems, like the journey itself?
Oh, the journey can be a nightmare. You can have a layover, which is a stop between flights. A long layover can be very boring, or your flight can be delayed or even canceled. A common problem with long-haul flights is jet lag.
Can you explain jet lag?
It's that tired, disoriented feeling you get when you travel across multiple time zones. Your body's internal clock is all messed up. You could say, the flight was fine, but I'm so jet lagged. I was wide awake at 3 a.m.
What about losing your things?
The ultimate travel nightmare. The airline lost my luggage is a terrible sentence to have to say. Or I had my wallet stolen.
These are things you hope never happen, but they are part of the reality of travel for some.
It's good to have the vocabulary, just in case. So let's put it all together. Let's imagine we are friends catching up over coffee, and you've just come back from a trip.
Okay, let's do it. You start.
Hey, Leo, welcome back. How was your trip to Greece? It looked amazing from your photos.
Hey, Emma, thanks. It was incredible, truly a once-in-a-lifetime trip. The Greek islands are just as beautiful as everyone says.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Which islands did you visit?
We started in Athens to see the historical sites like the Acropolis, which was mind-blowing. Then we flew to Santorini. I'm sure you've seen the pictures.
Of course, the white buildings and the blue domes. Was it as picturesque as it looks?
Even more so. The views from our hotel were just breathtaking. But to be honest, it was also a bit of a tourist trap. It was very crowded. My favorite part of the trip was actually visiting a smaller, less-known island called Foligandros. It was so authentic and serene.
Oh, I've never heard of that one. That sounds like a great tip. So you managed to get off the beaten path a little bit?
Exactly. We just rented a scooter and explored the whole island. We found these tiny, secluded beaches. It was perfect. The food was also out of this world.
I can't imagine. So now that you've got the travel bug, what's on your bucket list for the next trip?
That's a tough question. I think I'm ready for a completely different vibe. I'm dying to explore the rainforests of Costa Rica.
From ancient ruins to rainforest, you really are an adventurer. Well, you've definitely inspired me. I'm going to go home and start planning my next getaway.
That's the spirit. And scene. That conversation had everything. Past trips, future dreams, specific vocabulary, follow-up questions.
It really did. I think the main takeaway for our listeners is that when you talk about travel, your enthusiasm is contagious. Share the details, both good and bad. Ask questions that show you really picturing their trip. It's one of the best ways to get to know someone on a deeper level.
I couldn't agree more. Travel connects us to the world, and talking about it connects us to each other. That's all the time we have for today. We hope you enjoyed this journey with us.
Thanks for tuning in to the Love English podcast. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to Love English Podcast. Remember, every minute you spend learning English is an investment in your future. Keep learning and see you in the next episode.